It's harder enough for us to stand up on stage and even deliver a talk because
Yeah.
you guys know the statistics, right? Like people rather die
Hmm.
than speak publicly. So for us to cultivate a child or any speaker by any chance, when they come up, the moment you start giving not even constructive criticism, you start to smother the spark and the fire in between of them being aspired to be able to speak. And you and I, we talked about this, right? Because part of the thing is like perfection kills creativity.
Oh, yeah.
I have another expert series interview. We talked more in depth about this, but perfection kills creativity. Right? The moment we come out of the gate being perfect,
Right.
it kills all creativity. Remember when you and I were working on my TEDx talk? This is like the bottom of the hour. I think within 3 more days, I had to go to fly to Philadelphia to talk. And you're like, I don't really like the second section of your talk. So in my mind, I'm like, wait, I'm open for change. However, Anthony, you know that number one, I have to write out new content. Number two, I have to go practice it. Number three, I have to memorize it. And I only got like 2 or 3 days left before I go live, right? But in that moment, instead of going for perfection, we allow the possibility to open up and just be really messy. It's a huge mess. And I'm so glad that we did that because that made my talk even better.
Alan, you mentioned creativity, so I want to tie that together with the part 3 of the framework. So we go through and we talked about best practices to lock in, then inefficiencies to remove. The third part is creativity. So what creative options can we play with in our next iteration? And what that does is, about states, right? There's the positive state, then the potentially a negative state. You don't want to leave the feedback in that negative state. So we always conclude the feedback framework with creativity. What creative options can we play with? Now, it's not about corrective. It's about, what can we play with? What's another tone of voice I can use? What's another joke I can use? What's another part 2 that we can play with in Alan's TED Talk? Creativity is the best way to end this feedback framework. And again, it puts us into a state where it's fun and we want to do it again with something tiny different.
So speaking of which, what do you think that might be a social factor that influences of trying to be the perfect person? Or when we talk, we have to be perfect. We have to be a certain way, say a certain way, have the poise or a certain way. And relations to public speaking to like whether leadership or even upbringing our children. How does that have an impact with public speaking?
It's interesting. I'm going to bring it back to the world of sports, right? So when we get into the gym, when we practice, we're not supposed to make every single free throw. I mean, unless you're Steph Curry, then you do. But in the gym, it's okay to make some, it's okay to miss some. How do we translate that into the world of public speaking? Right now, there really aren't opportunities for kids to get together and shoot free throws. Right? Tell a story, and whether it's a good story or not, it's just getting the rep of telling a story. There's some games out there that are fun. I would say to mimic that as close as we can. Is there a board game that allows you to practice storytelling or your improv skills, your singing skills, and everything in a low risk and fun environment? So the making of the mistakes can now be reframed because it's practice. We don't have to be perfect in practice. Alan, there's a phrase, and I forgot, it comes from the personal development world that you and I come from. There is no like perfect presentation. There's only perfect practice, which means just go out there and practice as much as possible. That's the biggest societal factor, Alan, is parents aren't given a lot of options to choose from. How can we create these presentation gyms for our children? One where they want to go, one where they're free to make and laugh at mistakes, and one where they're put in the hands of a trusted coach or a trusted mentor.
I hear that all the time. And there's also another personal development quote I like to insert as well. You don't have to be great to start, but you have to start. People procrastinate a lot. And it's very true. It's just recently, so speaking of Steph Curry, if you guys don't know him, he's a point guard for the Golden State Warriors. And I had an opportunity to watch his documentary on Netflix. Now, did you guys know that Steph was actually not picked and dropped because of his height? Because for NBA, they all want 7 foot tall, right? And Steph, I believe he's only 6'1", right? And then even when he got drafted to a college, they saw him play in high school and he was shooting 3-pointers, but his first season was horrible. He was not making the 3-pointers. Most of the basket he threw that he actually missed. His team lost the entire first year. And the coach that actually drafted him started to wonder, the team had doubts whether or not he made the right decision. But through what Anthony was talking about, the practice, the repeat practice, the over and over and over, that he is the legend of 3-pointer today.
Alan, a keyword that you said, procrastination. You and I, we've seen lots of presenters, a lot of great presenters, but mostly presenters who it didn't seem like they practiced, that they procrastinated, that they're winging it, or they waited to the last minute to prepare. And if there's one thing I'd like to see is less of that, where we really treat presentations as a special event. It's an opportunity to teach or to make impact or to grow my skills. I don't know what it's going to take to get there, but I know that this conversation is a starting point, is just encouraging practice, encouraging mistakes, encouraging good habits.
Somebody in an audience might need to hear your message so that person doesn't commit suicide, so that person make a difference in their life. Even though it's just one person, but your voice matters. And that's why it's so important for us. We need to take this seriously and not procrastinate, prepare, because that's the level of impact that we have in these type of presentations.
What can children do to impact? And there's so many great examples. And I don't recall her name, but it was the young girl who spoke on climate change. Remember that? And just her talk went viral. And it's like, how do you get up there in front of a lot of audiences or in front of an audience full of adults and have your young voice penetrate the vision of the future? And that's what's possible. There was the young poet who spoke at the inauguration. There's a lot of young voices out there, and I think as parents, we would do well just to showcase. Look at the impact you can make with your voice. It doesn't matter the age, it matters the commitment, the dedication, the ability to see a future and to fight for it because it's their future.
Yeah, I believe her name was Greta Thunberg.
Yes. Oh my God. Yeah, if there is a inspirational video or TEDx for kids to watch, it's her.
Yeah, the other one, my favorite one is Molly Wright, How Every Child Could Thrive by 5. And I believe she's a 5-year-old. And wow, just watching her just melts my heart away. Speaking of which, what is the one important message you'd like to share with every parent out there?
I'm going to go back to the messiness. I mean, I grew up and it's traditional Asian. A- to my mom was not a good thing. It's like the whole report card, 1 A-, you focus on that. Back to the feedback framework. Oh, thanks, Mom. And it leaves a hole. So as a parent, give your children permission to be messy. Celebrate the messiness, frame it as a growth opportunity. Let them see you be messy and laugh at it. And that sets everything up.
Absolutely. I mean, our mentor says, success builds on top of success.
Absolutely.
Success does not build on top of failure. So when we point to it and say, hey, you got an A- or B+, there's basically pointing out what's wrong with the child, what's wrong with me. If that's all we focus on what we failed at instead of celebrating what's going right.
Yeah. Alan, I'm going to have you double down on recognize your children's strengths. That's the first thing that you recognize, that you encourage, that you ask them to do more of, and start there. And these strengths will grow, multiply, flourish, which is what all parents want, is for whatever skills emerge, for them to grow into the biggest extent possible.
Thanks so much for being on our show, Anthony.
Such a pleasure, Alan.
It's such an honor and a privilege to have you. Until then, live purposely, love passionately, and serve the world by spreading love and joy. We'll see you in future sessions.